So apparently, Manchester City are interested in signing West Brom captain and former Manchester United defender Jonny Evans this summer. So that's got us thinking, which players have played on both sides of the game's most fierce rivalries? First up, we've got Luis Enrique. When you think of players who have played for both Real Madrid and Barcelona, you immediately think of Luis Figo and that pig's head that joined him while he took a corner. But the Portuguese man isn't alone in crossing the El Clasico divide, with former Barca manager Luis Enrique doing it in 1996. The Spaniard joined Madrid in 1991 from Sporting Gijón, then 5 years and one La Liga title later, he was signed for Barcelona after letting his contract expire at the Bernabeu. Enrique was able to endear himself to the Barcelona faithful by scoring several times against Madrid, and then infuriating his old club by stating that he didn't have good memories from his time in the Spanish capital. Real would have the last laugh though, as Zidane and co beat Enrique's Barcelona team to the title last season. Next up, we've got William Gallas. A great defender on his day, but William Gallas clearly has no allegiances. The Frenchman won 2 Premier Leagues with Chelsea before his move to North London with Arsenal, which saw Ashley Cole head the other way. After 4 seasons at the Emirates, Gallas was on the move again, but decided to stay in North London and join arch rivals Tottenham, in the move that he described as a no-brainer, joining a team that he claimed could win the Premier League. There must have been something funny in the water, but at least he didn't get the same abuse as Sol Campbell did. Next, we've got NEMANJA MATIC. Okay, this one is a bit of a stretch, but stick with us, and before you get ahead of yourselves, we're not implying that Man United and Chelsea are bitter rivals. One of the fiercest and most brutal derbies in world football is between Red Star Belgrade and Partizan Belgrade over in Serbia. Known as the Eternal Derby, Partizan and Red Star's rivalry began back in 1947 after the two sides were formed following World War II. Despite the intensity of the rivalry, there are a lot of players who have been at both clubs, most notably NEMANJA MATIC, back when he was just a youngster. The midfielder joined Red Star's youth ranks as a 12-year-old back in 2000, spending 4 years there before crossing the divide and switching to Partizan. Matic would never make a senior appearance for either side, which was probably for the best. Up next, we've got STEFFEN FREUND. The Germans are a passionate bunch, and that is epitomised in the Revier derby between Borussia Dortmund and Schalke, which fans can often say is more important than how their team actually does in the league, with Dortmund even making replica shirts to commemorate special victories over their rivals. Just like all rivalries, we've seen players cross the divide, one of which was STEFFEN FREUND. The midfielder joined Schalke in 1991, but had to sell him 2 years later due to financial difficulties, and funnily enough it was Dortmund who stumped up the cash, and Freund would go on to win 2 Bundesliga titles at his new club. From Germany to the northeast of England, we've got Lee Clark. Much like in Germany, the tiny derby result can determine the mood in the region for months, and a win in the derby can turn a disappointing season into a success. We've seen the likes of Jack Callback and Titus Bramble play for both Newcastle and Sunderland, but Lee Clark arguably caused the most controversy. The Geordie midfielder swapped Tyneside for Wearside in 1997 and actually performed really well for the Black Cats despite his roots. However, Clark severed all ties with Sunderland in 1999 when he was pictured with the Newcastle fans at the FA Cup final, wearing a t-shirt that said the words Sad Mackem and another word for illegitimate child that we're not going to say in case we get in trouble. With one t-shirt, Clark's Sunderland career was over and he never played for them again, later returning to Newcastle in 2005. Staying in England, next we've got Abel Xavier. Considering the amount of teams that Abel Xavier played for throughout his career, a massive 12, it shouldn't really come across as a surprise that he played for some rivals during his time. In 1999, the fullback moved to the Premier League with Everton for £1.5 million, but after 2.5 years with the Toffees, Xavier and his wacky hair were on the move again. But this wasn't a long move, linking up with Liverpool for £800,000 to bolster the Reds' defence, and in turn becoming only the 4th player to transfer from Everton to Liverpool. It probably wasn't worth the hysteria, as Xavier only made 14 Premier League appearances for Liverpool before he was on the move again. Next it's ANDREA PIRLO. Back in the late 90s, when ANDREA PIRLO probably didn't have the glorious beard he has today, the Italian playmaker was impressing at Brescia, so much so that he was signed by a Milan giant, but it was Inter who first got a hold of the passing wizard. After 2 loan spells away from the club and limited first team football, Pirlo would be on the move in 2001, joining rivals AC for 33 billion lira, which was about 70 million euros at the time, so it's not as much as it sounds. From there, Pirlo would go on to become the world-class midfielder he's been for the past 16 years, first at AC Milan and then at Juventus, winning 6 Serie A titles, none of which were with Inter. Up next we've got Carlos TEVEZ. The Argentinian's move to the Premier League was a controversial one when he randomly arrived at West Ham with Javier Mascherano to play for Alan Pardew, but he would continue to create more controversy, a theme throughout his career in 2009. After West Ham's relegation, TEVEZ joined Man United on a 2-year loan, forming a great trio alongside Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo. When the loan came to an end, TEVEZ would decide he no longer wished to play for Man United, but also ruled out a move to Liverpool because of the rivalry between the two teams. So instead, the Argentinian forward signed for Manchester City, with his arrival leading to the infamous Welcome to Manchester billboard. TEVEZ would of course go on to later down tools at Man City away to Bayern Munich in a Champions League game, because he clearly just loved to see Manchester people angry. Our penultimate player is Gabriel Batistuta. Arguably the biggest rivalry in world football is the battle in Argentina between Boca Juniors and River Plate, in a match known as Super Clasico. The atmosphere when the two teams meet is incredible and sometimes volatile, with many a derby ending in riots. So with that, you'd think no player would ever be brave enough or stupid enough to play for both teams. Well, think again, because Gabriel Batistuta did exactly that. The striker joined River Plate in 1989, but was later inexplicably dropped by coach Daniel Pasarella and joined rivals Boca in 1990. Spending just one season there, Batistuta became the league's top scorer while helping Boca win the league. And finally, we've got Kenny Miller. It's a rivalry so fierce that goes beyond football. The Old Firm derby between Rangers and Celtic hasn't seen many players line up for both sides, but one man who has is Kenny Miller. First joining Rangers in the year 2000 for £2 million from Hibs, Miller would take his goal-scoring boots to England and join Wolves. But in 2006, when his contract expired, he would join Celtic on a free and become only the third player since the Second World War to play for both sides of the Old Firm. Miller would cross the divide once again and return to Rangers via Derby County, and the striker is now in his third spell at Ibrox at the age of 37. So those are 10 players who have played for rival clubs. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.